When my mother got cancer, her nails turned into, they call it clubbing. To me, it looks like reptilian nails. And I'm very concerned about the DNA that they collect from us and that they spread around using, you know what? I believe that even the traits of red hair and the fact that men can grow breasts and women grow hair in places like their face, that these hormones and tissues and DNA coming into us is creating, a new biological body. But worse than that too is the consciousness, because who cares about the biological body, right? But I'm thinking about the consciousness of people in my world. The consciousness of love is not there. My sister behaved like an animal with me the last time we spoke. She's not there. I didn't know her anymore. I don't know the other siblings or family members. I just don't know people anymore. And it's making me very sad that the ones that are suffering are victims of the ones that refuse to look. Really, because people that are blindly going along with these programs and encouraging, organ transferring and raising money for lung transfers and donating blood, donating money to Red Cross agencies. This entire system that we live is satanic. It's satanic. And you and I have to know the difference between right and wrong, good and evil, moral and immoral. Because words can make things sound very moral. Thank you for your service. And so many others. We use words to create a new reality. And it depends on how much hypnosis is going on, how many times they suggest the same thing over and over and over again. And that's what we're getting all day long in the media, is terroristic news or perversion, introducing new species of humans, like men dressed up like women, or babies with diapers on, and television programs where you look at people and they're introduced as men, but they're really women, or they're introduced as women and they're really men. And pretty soon you can't tell who's who out there anymore. Because they're using words to form the imagination. The imagination is our precious gift because it's our creator, and we will create from our imaginations. Jesus told you that. And then I came along and am telling you that because we failed to listen to the warnings, that the satanic hold over us, the consciousness, it's just the consciousness, it's the thinking, because the thinking is the creator. That's the part that's wrong with us. Our souls are all of Christ. Jesus told you that too. We're all flames of Christ. We're stars. And we have a lot of intelligence with, I don't know how long, of many lives. And that was the other part of my story, to show you that worshiping Jesus is another way of you worshiping a satanic god, because Jesus was against worship. He tore the temples up. He didn't like money chargers, didn't like men that dressed up in fine clothes and took money from widows. He didn't like the judge. He didn't like fear. He wanted to take naps on boats and have supper with his friends. He was against the Old Testament. He was supposed to, his word came back. When he came back, Jesus was born again. And he came as King James with his mother Mary again, this time to live in a castle and get influence out right from the chambers. In the meantime, when a son is removed from his mother's bosom, he is suddenly raised by lords who are pedophiles. And he himself becomes a pedophile, a sodomite. King James, Spirit of Jesus. You wouldn't have known that without me telling you. And most people don't believe me. They're watching me for entertainment. But I'm telling you, that's why I'm here, is to show you how we choose our roles and we have a game plan. Like, we're very intelligent. We plan our lives before we're born. We plan everything out. We put little codes in to remind us and to help us. But the consciousness here has become so dense, so thick with lies and delusion. And suffering, suffering, pain and suffering will keep people stuck and powerless and dependent. And so they look outside for answers, because you've been conditioned to look outside. Well, the answers aren't going to come from outside. And this trap, we're caught in a trap, will continue to go on until eternity. Unless, I don't know, maybe the DNA will run out, because women, the feminine spirit, the wombs are leaving. And they're having to make up artificial wombs. They're having to make up a whole new egg and sperm cell combination thing. I heard that this is what happened to Atlantis, is that they were mixing humans with animals in DNA, in birthing. And that's why the continent was wiped out. I don't know what's taking so long to wipe us out, because we're involved in the same thing. And I believe it all stems from one bloodline. Some people say there's 12 bloodlines. I say there's one pretty big one who probably pays off the other 11 bloodlines in power. But this one bloodline is redheaded, and they're sodomites. They're women haters. They're hypnotists. They're phonicans. They're masters of language and the word. And now, after thousands of years of running the educational and religious programs, they've come to Hollywood and use propaganda and perversion to change who we are in the consciousness, in our thinking. And we think things are okay, like abortions, leaving our kids with daycares, divorce, single families. We don't know anything other than what's in our own hearts. We don't know the truth of outside world. We really don't, because we're living in a world of Hollywood, of theater. And they keep us distracted. And there's a reason they keep us distracted. They don't want us to know the truth. That the consciousness of evil can only be put out with the consciousness of love. And it has to take people with the consciousness of love to stamp out the evil. That's didn't work with King James and Mary again, but he still got the message out with the, it was supposed to be the good news. Jesus was the good news. And that is that we don't worship idol stars. Didn't work out so well, so Jesus came back again with his mother, Elvis Presley, and Gladys Love. Your king was the spirit of Jesus. Again, started off in gospel music, went on to the blues. He was found by the military and became a CIA asset to pervert the masses. And then his mother was murdered, and then he left. You know, the good die young, because it wasn't working out. You can only be an influencer if you're not controlled by somebody above you. You know, if you can't freely speak from your heart, then you're owned. And Elvis was owned. King James was owned. We're all owned. And I don't want you to sit there and think, oh, wow, you know, what a nice idea that Jesus was also Elvis. Big deal. We all come in different roles with a plan. And anybody who's watching me has some kind of a message or a spiritual inclination to what I'm saying about the consciousness of love, or you wouldn't be here. Because you know that's all it would take. If the consciousness of love was strong enough, then we could wipe out. You know, it wouldn't take long, because the imagination is the manifester. But what we're watching on TV and being bombarded with in school, and with people around us being indoctrinated and drilling it into our heads the way we have to be, how can the consciousness of love work to put out the dark? It's it's an individual and personal thing. And I know in my story, because I know the story of Jesus and Mary intimately, and I know my story with my own son, who died trapped in flames this life at 25 years of age. He said, Mom, Jesus isn't here. And he was right. If we represent Jesus as the flame of Christ, the flame of Christ isn't here. It's very weak if it is here, because I don't hear it, I don't feel it, I don't see it. And we're all being isolated and social distanced from each other and put into such states of fear that we don't want to make a move. Well, that's somebody who's a slave and doesn't feel the consciousness of love. And speaking up is not the easiest thing in the world to do. But if you don't know the difference between fantasy and reality, and most people don't anymore because they're so fooled, anything goes on media now. They say anything. And if a lot of people pick up on it, or the CIA makes the algorithm spread viral, then that's the way people are going to believe. Anything viral, anything popular. I'm going to tell you something, guys. Jim Jones in Africa there was a test run. Just a test run. He was part of this. Would 900 people drink poisonous Kool-Aid and feed it to their children because somebody said the word of God? And the answer was yes. And the more people allow themselves to be hypnotized by men, by bling, by idol stars, by the word, by charming people, my God, They are the most charming people. I love them. I love all the assholes. It's terrible. It's because they're so freaking charming. And I think they're part of me. But that's where I made my mistake my whole life. It's because of my good heart and your good heart that we fall into the trap of the charming people. We want to believe them. We want to see the best. We don't want to judge. But by living without consciousness of love, we're living in fantasy purely. Purely. These are all stories that we are living out. You're living a story right now, and you're recording it from the beams in your eyes. Those little lights in your pupils are recording your imagination, your fantasies, and what you personally are manifesting. That's exactly how people stay stuck. Because when we leave our bodies, turns to ash, we immediately want to come back and try again. We have to. We have to work out our karmic debts. Because in this evil consciousness, we're going against ourselves. Trust me, the only judge is going to be you and me for my sins. I saw what I did in my movie already. I saw my movie. I saw my life in a new projector. Like a huge difference between what I thought my life was and what my life really was. And basically, I'm a horse with no name. And I'm aware of it. And I'm okay with it. But I have to live here amongst humans who are being manipulated and lied to and drawn into thinking things like education and medicine and the law are part of God. And I'm saying that it's not. None of it is part of God. We don't need anybody outside of ourselves to come into our bodies and do anything. There's no other God before you, except if your imagination makes it so. And then maybe you can create some life for a little while, taking the medications, whatever your prescriptions are. But I'm telling you, it's all about suffering and profiting on the suffering. And they're getting more bold and brazen than ever before. And the more darkness that is allowed to be spewed without contesting, the more darkness will come. Because this is a collective imagination here on earth. And the collective imagination is creating a dark consciousness. And that dark consciousness is creating a black slave race. Every black tribe has been born into poverty. And I don't want you to get me wrong. Anybody born with pupils that have beams in their eyes are of Christ. They are starseeds. But anyone can also be turned into evil consciousness and be turned to a creature they didn't want to be and they would never accept when they wake up and realize, how they treated people or how they were treated and didn't even realize it. And people don't realize how they're being treated by their governments. They don't realize that idle stars are paid to twist your imagination, pervert your imagination, and sell you a bill of goods about who God is and who you are and where you live. And none of it's true. And none of the people on your television programming are better than you. Nobody is better than you. And Jesus told you that too. We're an intelligent species of consciousness of love. And the only way to avoid the reincarnation trap, again, is to know who you are, who you came with, and to remember this is just a story. The only thing real at the end will be love. It will be love. Now, it's a bit worrisome for me because I don't have that consciousness of love in my family at all. It's dead. There's no love there for me whatsoever. But my star cluster family, who are dead already, are my eternal connection. My twin flame, my mother, my reflection, which is my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, I am the reflection of her. My father and son are twin flames as well, and they are my soulmate. This is my star cluster, and this is my story. And I came out to say I own the Jesus and Mary story, the King James and Mary story, and the Elvis Presley and Gladys Love story. And the only reason why I know I own those stories is because the Trevor story came to me in 2016 when Golden Beans of Light downloaded me with not only my history, but the history of the world and how we got sideswiped into the Garden of Eden and began to think about women and our mothers and daughters as slaves. And that's exactly what they became. And in written word, too, until 1920, women were the property of men. And today they have no respect. We put down the Muslims for how they treat their women. Well, we hate our women. We think they're whores. We dress them up as whores. We want them to be Barbie dolls and shut up. Yeah. And so people with that imagination are going to be back. Back, because that's not who they are born to be. That's not who they were when they were born. With a clean slate, a clean imagination, every life, even a black life, yes, every bloody person we hate in the world started as Christ. But what are they born into? And what happens to them? Turns that consciousness black, as black can be. And there's some very black people. You have to know that we are creating the black slave race for the redheads tribe. I don't know how that works yet. I'm still doing my research, but it really doesn't matter who started all this. The question is, who's going to finish it? And for me, I'm finishing it. I'm not being quiet about who I am or who God is. God is not a man. It is our energy, and it's the energy that keeps us alive forever. But if the consciousness of love, the light goes out, the darkness will set in. And we have to be able to see what evil is and what they're doing to our parents, our grandparents. This has been going on, especially this medicine thing. You know, I first came to Quebec, and one of the first things that happened is I was offered a job as a ghost tour operator, English-speaking ghost tour operator in Old Quebecville. I was hired. And one of the stories was about a Dr. James Douglas, who is the founding father of medicine in Canada, and who opened a school here. And his school is freaking haunted. And the reason why it's haunted is because Dr. James Douglas was a serial killing psychopath who just wanted to dissect people. He wanted to take their eyes out while they're alive. He wanted to take this out while they're alive. That's how he practiced medicine. And you can't get away with that. But he did. And he became the founding father of this evil practice. And anybody who thinks different, okay.
Look, grosser mentality boys who like to be photographed getting in and out of Daimlers in Whitehall. They come right at the bottom of our organization. A few rungs up the ladder, there are the people in the top secret factories. Just those in a position to know they're making weapons that don't really work.
There must come a time when somebody wants to use one of those weapons. I mean, somebody is standing there with a finger on the button.
Well, that's the beauty of it. Nobody presses the button. We control all the crises. We build them up and we shut them down.
It's my network of widows that help me control the scales of power. One command, the oil and stock markets crumble. One command, and a quarter of the planet will starve. My widows can start and end wars. They can make and break kings.
You control all of that from here.
And with you, an avenger under my control, I can finally come out of the shadows, using the only natural resource that the world has too much of. Girls.
We, again.
Yeah, I'm coming to that. Near the top of the hierarchy, there are the economists, top civil servants, the top brass in the military, those men who are supposed to view the nuclear tests and so on. And above them, CWNS.
Right at the top. Classified World News Service. Just who the hell are you?
It's obvious, isn't it? Just a very few of the top people in communications in every major country in the world.
Oh, you mean you run all these magazines?
No, of course not. We just get them to take some of our copy every week. Television is much more important to us. It all happens so quickly.
You say you can put out what pictures you like on television. Doesn't anybody try to stop you?
No, nobody wants to. 99.386% of the population wouldn't believe this conversation. And the rest are working for us. And they're the top minds, the really responsible people. They know they're guaranteeing the lives of their grandchildren the only foolproof way.
Scaring the hell out of their grandchildren. Well, I won't buy it.
You must admit there has to be some kind of control in this world of ours. Look at this. And remember that 1/4 of the world is starving. There are the full bellies and the empty bellies. Some of the empty bellies carry rifles. Well, we full bellies are getting a bit flabby. We're not very good with rifles anymore, so we've devised 2 ways to keep the empty bellies under control. One of them is this fictitious hydrogen bomb we've talked about. The other one is money. Enough money to fill some of the empty bellies and put a hopeful smile on the faces of the others. A great wall of money all around Britain. And it's no secret that the British economy is in trouble at the moment. So we have to put that right, too, to stay alive. We have to control the people in this country. Scare an ostrich, buries its head in the sand. You scare a hedgehog, it rolls itself up into a ball. When a woman's frightened, she goes out and buys herself a hat.
You mean you scare us so that we'll buy more, so that money moves quicker, production moves up?
We don't say scare when we talk about human beings. We say threaten them emotionally.